Welcome everybody to this video on while loops in Java. So to start off with this, since this is the first video on loops in our series, I'm going to first talk about the purpose of a loop. Okay, and the purpose of a loop is to repeat code over and over in a row. This is an important distinction to remember. This does not mean to take something and do it, then do something else, then do it again. We will cover something later on that does this. However, this is only referring to do the same code or a block of code over and over in a row. Okay. So for instance, what we're going to look at here is, what if I want to print out the phrase hello world? Well, if I want to print out once, I would just do it like so. But let's say I want to do it 5 times, I might copy and paste it a bunch of times, and then I'd have it 5 times in a row. If I wanted it 10 times, I'd take that, copy it, and do the same thing. Now, this is great if I want to do this many times, but 1, I'm writing more code than I need to, and 2, if I want to do this 100 times, 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, this is not feasible to do at all. I wouldn't be copy and pasting something 1,000,000 times within my code. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to look at a while loop. So a while loop is in similar structure actually to our if statements, our selection statements. They will run as long as the whatever is inside of the condition is true. So let's look at our if statements again. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to declare and initialize a variable called num as an integer and give it a value of 10. And then what I'm going to do from there is I'm going to write if num is greater than 3, remembering to put brackets around the condition, because if I do not, it will not work. Then I'm going to put my open curly brackets to show that my if statement body has began. And inside I'm going to put a print statement that says if statement body will run. So in other words, my if statement is going to run, its body will run because its condition is true. Now, if I want to do this as a while loop, it's going to work exactly the same way. It will run when its condition is true. However, when it gets to the end of the body of the loop, it will go back to the beginning. It will check the condition again, and if it is true, it will run the body again. If it's false, it will skip the body, just like an if statement. So let's start this off. We're going to make num equal to 0 now, since we've already declared it before. And we're going to write while, an open bracket, num is less than 3, close bracket, followed by a curly bracket. So just like our if statement, everything is exactly the same. The only difference is that I've chosen to change my greater than to less than, and I have replaced my if with a while to make this a loop instead of a selection statement. I can do the same thing I did before and put a print statement inside of it, notably system.out.println, and I'm going to say the while loop body of the code will run, so we know when the while loop runs. Then I'm going to finish that off with a curly bracket, and when I get to the end of my loop down here, I will return back and check the condition again. Now, this is great, and if the condition never changes, however, this loop will run infinite. And that's because num's value will always be 0, so it will always be less than 3, so it will always be true. This means every time I get to the end of my loop, I will go back, I will check, it will be true again, so we'll run it again. This will just continue to happen over and over again. So, if we want to stop this, we need to add something that will move our variable towards making our condition false. That way the loop will end. So what I'm going to do here is, since I have my num is equal to 0, I want to find a way to approach 3, or in other words, be equal to 3 or greater than 3. So since it's 0, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take num value and I'm going to add 1 to it. So I'm going to say num is equal to num plus 1. This could be written as num plus plus. This can be written as num plus equals 1. All are acceptable. The point is we want to add 1 to the variable num. What this means now is that when I come to my end of my loop, num's value will increase from 1. So when I come back, instead of this being 0 is less than 3 like it was the first time through, I will have added 1. And instead what I'll have is this will say 1 is less than 3. So it'll run my loop. I'll run everything inside it again. So I'll print out while loop body of the code will run. I will increase num's value by 1 again, since now it'll be num is equal to 1 plus 1, so it's 2. And then my loop will end, and I'll return back and check the condition again. Now the condition is 2 is less than 3, so I will print out my statement again. I will increase it by 1 again, since its value is 2. I will add 1 to 2 and get 3. I'll hit the end of my loop, and I will return back to the beginning. Now 3 is not less than 3, so what will happen is I will skip the body of my loop, and I will continue on to the rest of my code. So I'm going to put out here a system.out.println. The loop is over, so I know my loop has ended. And then what I'm going to do finally is I'm just going to talk about the fact that while loops don't need to always use numbers. They can also be compared with strings and booleans like we've done with ifs. So if I go and run this, I will have my 10 print statements show up first, right here. I'll have my if statement, which was true, and will be printed right here. And then I will have my while loop here, which will print out my statement 3 times, since it prints when num was equal to 0, num was equal to 1, and when num was equal to 2. And then finally my last print statement saying the loop is over. Keep in mind I also could have decided to print out num's value, which would have increased by 1, and that would have printed out 0, then 1, then 2.